The knife's edge for many NBA teams. Lakers, Warriors going the wrong way. Suns going really the wrong way. But here come the Heat. Here come the Hawks. And the Celtics kind of get back on track. And we get to it all on Locked On NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
What's up, everybody? Tony East West Goldberg here, bringing you your Locked On NBA Game Night action for this lovely Wednesday. Some great games last night from teams heading in a direction, maybe not the direction they want to be heading, all near or around 500 with stuff going on, injuries everywhere. Some of the results were great for those teams, some not so great. Steph Curry does not look like a happy man. We have so much to get to. The Lakers did what against who? The Suns did what against who? Zion is back. It's a great night to be a fan of the NBA. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. I say we dive over to start in a game that feels like a gimme for everybody right now. Anybody playing the Dallas Mavericks, poor Mavs, don't have Luka, they don't have Kyrie. They didn't have any problems, though, today against the Lakers. Lakers in Dallas could not beat that hobbled Mavs team. PJ Washington, consistently awesome for them. Quentin Grimes approaching my guy territory. Lakers stunk, 97 points against that crew. Wes, they have a good record. They just made a trade. Any concern about the Lakers? Is this just a blip for them?
I'm as concerned as I've always been with the Lakers. This is not a good basketball team. Yes, they have a winning record, but it kind of feels like a fluke. They have a bad net rating. They drop games that they should be winning all the time. And in this game in particular, it was just another data point that this defense stinks. And no amount of Dorian Finney-Smith is going to help it, right? Dorian Finney-Smith was a nice acquisition. It feels like it's the first of maybe a 2 or a 3-part sort of retool before the trade deadline. But before those things actually happen, this defense isn't good enough to win a playoff round. It just simply isn't. LeBron James continues to be a minus. And it's all because of what he does defensively. Like, he had this sick left-handed dunk in this game, and that's going to be the highlight that carries the highlight packages coming off of this. Oh my God, he's 40, just like every broadcast is required to say every Lakers game. But he was bad defensively. He's been bad defensively all season. Anthony Davis can only do so much. Austin Reeves got roasted in this game in isolation. And Dallas, even without their 2 isolation guys, Luka and Kyrie Irving, they said, we don't care that we don't have our 2 ball handling stars. We're still just going to run the same system. And they just went on Austin Reeves over and over and over again. You combine that with some really good shooting. They obviously they shot 47% from 3 in this game, which didn't help matters. But, you know, they shot overall 52%. Like, they were getting it done in the paint also. And the Lakers just take nothing away defensively. And it feels like they're just a team that is reliant on their opponent missing a bunch of shots, and that's how they win games. And that just doesn't feel like a winning formula to me.
They don't take a ton of threes. Their defense isn't very good, and they play really slow. What exactly are they trying to do to, like, crush somebody, right? You can win a lot that way, but it's hard for that identity to really take over a game. And you mentioned their net rating. You know what their point differential is in the West? 12th. 12th, like way down there, right? They happen to be in 6th. They're 20-16. They deserve credit for being good in clutch games, but they have a lot of games like this where you wonder how they have the record they have, and credit to the Mavs, right? Like, Quentin Grimes looked great. Every time PJ Washington plays, they have a chance to win, even without Gafford as well. Lively had foul trouble, but contributed when he played. I thought Maxi Kleber was really good. Like, that's all great for the Mavs. They needed to get out of a losing streak. They'll be fine when they get healthy. But yeah, the Lakers should win this game every time. In fact, let's hear from the Kamenetskis.
Host of the Locked On Lakers podcast, and despite no Luka Doncic, no Kyrie Irving, no Daniel Gafford, and Dallas on the second end of a back-to-back where they had traveled, the Lakers managed to lose 118-97 to the Mavs in Dallas. The Lakers absolutely laid an egg in this game. Very bad execution on both sides of the ball, whether you're talking about defensive coverages or just finishing plays, particularly at the rim, a lot of smoked layups. And I thought, other than maybe Dorian Finney-Smith in his own right, I don't think any Laker had a particularly strong, complete game. If you're looking over the course of 4 quarters, this will go down as one of the worst losses of the season. For more Lakers coverage, make sure you are watching Locked On Lakers on YouTube and listening wherever you get your podcasts.
State of the Mavs that is considered one of the worst losses of the season for the Lakers, but that's the credit they deserve. That is a rough one. They've got to I just feel like they need another ball handler, and they haven't had one all year.
The Lakers? Yeah. I mean, it's just not a good roster. Can I shout out the Dallas Mavericks here, though, for a second?
Yeah, that was awesome. They played very well.
First Lakers losses of the year. This is one of the best Mavericks win of the year. Like, this was just an unreal effort, shorthanded, no Luka, no Gafford, no Kyrie, and also just a strange game for them offensively. Like, they had guys make 3-pointers in this game, which was a big reason why they won this game. But I guess they got some sort of memo before the game started that you can only make all of your threes in a row, and then that's it. It took Klay Thompson made 3 3-pointers in a row in the second quarter. Jaden Hardy came out in the third quarter and made 3 3-pointers in a row in the third quarter, and that was like a big way that Dallas, A, established their lead in the first half, and then B, extended their lead in the second half, and then obviously PJ Washington was great. This was an awesome win, and this Dallas Mavericks team, I know they've slid over these last couple of weeks without Luka and without Kyrie and with all some of these injuries that they've been dealing with. Prior to losing Luka Doncic, they had won something like 11 out of 13 games or something like that. Looking every bit the title contender of the NBA Finals team that they were last year.
Yeah. That
team is still there. They are still that team. And when they get healthy, this is, to me, the second best team in the Western Conference.
Yeah, they're real good. Quentin Grimes, when you make 6 threes, you're going to look really good. But he had 9 boards, and he's tiny, and he had 6 assists. A rare win-win trade with the team that got Tim Hardaway is also very excited. Congrats to the Detroit Pistons. Lakers may not even feel the worst about their loss in the league tonight. Shout out to the Golden State Warriors for taking that mantle. You thought the Lakers were playing on a back-to-back against a team that traveled. At least that game was a road game. Golden State at home against the Miami Heat, who played the night before. Double overtime and had to travel, albeit a very short distance, to Golden State, and the Heat kicked the Warriors' butt. And this is your beat here, Wes. What happened here? Because the Heat looked pretty good. They should have won 2 in a row after they blew it last night. But why do the Warriors look so bad, and why did the Heat look so good?
We'll start with the Warriors part of this. We'll go back in time a little bit. The couple of years that I was the Warriors beat reporter for the Bay Area News Group was the 2 years where they were in the lottery. So I picked the best years to cover that team. And so often my lead was Steph Curry was great, but didn't have much help. And that was the story in this one. Steph Curry was great, and he didn't have much help. He had 31 points in this game, shot 50% overall, 47% from 3, went 8 for 17 from beyond the arc. Nobody else did much of anything. Trace Jackson-Davis, shout out, 19 points. Good for you. That was really it. Buddy Hield, an inefficient 11 points on 12 shots. Dennis Schroeder continues to be a bust for them on 2 of 10 shooting.
Yeah, yikes. That trade is looking rough.
Take him out of the starting lineup. It's not working. Defensively, they remain a mess. Offensively, with Jonathan Kuminga out, there's no other spark, and it felt like they were searching for that other spark this entire game. Teams are leaving Draymond Green open, and now Draymond Green is actually shooting it because the Warriors just need anything to happen, and like maybe you catch lightning in a bottle, and it's like the 1 out of every 20 games that Draymond can make a consecutive or multiple 3-pointers in a game. Maybe that gives them the spark that they're looking for. It's not good. It's not good for Golden State. And meanwhile, the Miami Heat, really gutsy, inspiring win for that team. They lose a heartbreaker in double overtime in Sacramento, where they blew a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter. Really tough. They have to come back less than 24 hours later on the road, second night of a back-to-back. And no Jimmy Butler, as they're dealing with sort of the emotional and physical fatigue of everything that this week has been. And they really get these young guys to step up. Nikola Jovic, 20 points. 11 of those came in the fourth quarter. Jaime Jaquez Jr., 18 points. 14 of those came in the first quarter. So you've got these young guys, these recent first-round picks, bookending a really impressive performance overall, kind of an ensemble performance, 6 guys in double figures for the Heat in a game that they really needed. It's their first game, their first win in what might be the post-Jimmy Butler era, depending on if this trade goes down before he comes back from a suspension. So They needed this one. The young guys stepped up, and if you're a Heat fan, you got to feel good about those building blocks.
Yeah, they got to feel okay about how they're playing, honestly, since this suspension. Like, again, if Hero wasn't very good in Sacramento either, but if they escaped that game, they'd be 2-1 since then with their best offensive option not playing particularly well. And I've been saying for years to build around Nikola Jovic, so vindicated tonight. I haven't actually said that, but I do think he's pretty good. That's good for the Heat. They have a lot of depth, right? They can survive this, especially when their entire roster is actually trying in a game. But yes, they do have quite the cloud hanging over them. And so do the Warriors. They're 500 now, and they started 12-3. Like, that's just kind of unfathomable to say, but that's the skid that they're in. And they're a half game away from being out of the play-in. The West is that tight. The Kings are playing better. Like, you got to get some wins at some point. And Steph scores 31, and there's videos of him in the arena looking, how you say, frustrated to be nice.
Downtrodden.
Like
yeah.
Down. Yes. They got to, I don't know what they can do. It's kind of tough when you're nearing the end of a dynasty.
Maybe they could trade for that guy that was suspended for the other team that you lost to just now.
You know, Wes, I think that makes a lot of sense, but the reporting says they aren't interested, and I don't get why. I don't get it. They should very much be interested.
Maybe they're interested now.
They can't make a layup, and they took 5 free throws. You know what Jimmy Butler's really good at, Wes?
Layups and free throws.
Layups and getting to the free throw line. Seems like that would help the Miami Heat. They can't give up Andrew Wiggins, heaven forbid. I'm sorry. I'm ranting now about nothing. Either way, good for the Heat. Not very good for the Warriors, who now head on a road trip. That surely will solve their woes. And woes, speaking of, Jokic does not play. The Suns lost to who? It's a crazy night in the NBA. Much more to get to here on Locked On NBA Game Night. I want to take a moment to introduce you to a brand new mobile game that we're all really excited about, Ultimate Basketball HC. If you've ever dreamed of being a college basketball head coach, this is your chance to step into those shoes. In Ultimate Basketball HC, you control every detail of your program, from recruiting players and hiring coaches to overseeing training camps, handling NIL deals, and managing scholarships. It's all right in your hands. And when it comes to game time, you can drop offensive plays and set your strategy. That way, you won't just play. You play won't just affect the current season; it'll shape the future of your school's basketball program. It's a game that lets you feel the full weight of what it means to be a head coach and lead your team to glory. Here's a special offer for Locked On NBA listeners. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCBB, all caps, inside the game store. You get a free boost for your program. It's the perfect way to kickstart your coaching career. To download the Ultimate College Basketball HC, just visit ultimate-cbb.com or look it up in the app stores. Ultimate College Basketball HC. Begin your coaching legacy today. Back here on Locked On NBA Game Night. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen today and every single day. If you're interested in those games that we just ran through, make any of those your second listen. I am certainly bopping on over to Locked On Warriors tomorrow. I'm sure they'll be talking about how do you fix this? Speaking of things that do not need fixing, Trey Young's 50-footer does not need any fixing. By far the best moment of the night in the league and a great night in the NBA. Came from Hawks Jazz, of all places. Shout out to the Jazz. I actually had quite a few positive notes about them, but this game should start at the end, and I'm just going to let Brad Rowland of Locked On Hawks tell you about it.
My name is Brad Rowland. I'm the host of the Lon Hawks Podcast, and it was a wild one for the Hawks in Salt Lake City on this Tuesday evening. Final score, 124-121, and it was a 50-foot walk-off three by Trae Young to win it after the game had been tied by Colin Sexton in the final seconds. The Hawks did not really play incredible basketball in this game. They were good enough at times. Trae Young was awesome at 24 points, 20 assists, his third 2020 game of the season. But Atlanta also let this one get away. Fortunately, road wins are road wins in the NBA. The Jazz are not particularly good, but they made a lot of shots in this game. Lauri Markkanen was awesome for Utah. But, long story short, the Hawks win a game without Jalen Johnson on the road. And yes, they were favored in this one, but certainly it was never easy along the way. Utah did make a bunch of plays down the stretch, but the big story coming out of this one was Trae Young, a big game and a massive walk-off game winner. We'll get into all of how it transpired and more on Locked On Hawks Podcast.
Oh, man, he could not be more right about Trae Young being the story. He was not about to be. He did not play a great game. Shooting-wise, he did have 20 assists. That's obviously incredible. But 6 for 16. Before that make, he was 2 for 9 from 3. And the Jazz fought this whole fourth quarter and had the worst play ever when they were down 3 inside the final 10 seconds. And somehow Colin Sexton just scoops up the ball on the left wing, turns, shoots, and drills a 3 to tie it. Shout out to the Utah crowd, who has seen 2 home wins this year, who had euphoria for all of 8 seconds before Trey Young turned around, dribbled twice, and hit a 50-footer. What a shot, and what a game Hawks Jazz ended up being.
This is what makes League Pass worth that annual fee. It's like you're just like, wait, Hawks Jazz, it's a 3-point game with a minute left. Let me just flick on over to that, just see what happens. It was kind of in this like lull period between the end of that first Lakers game that we talked about and kind of the start of the second round of games. I'm like, all right, just pop on over to that. And I'm just like, what is going on? You've got like this Steve Young kind of picking up the fumble and throwing the touchdown moment from Colin Sexton. And then I like blink, and then the Hawks won the game. You look at the play-by-play, and it's absolutely wild. It's Sexton 24-foot 3-point pull-up jump shot, ties the game with 4 seconds left, and then Trae Young 49-foot 3-point pull-up jump shot with 0 seconds left. Hawks win 124-121, and him just waving bye to that Jazz crowd. Oh, gut-wrenching. If you're in Salt Lake City in that moment, that was awesome. That was such a fun ending.
It was perfect. And a Hawks team that is 500, a theme of the night, right? All these teams. And I think the Hawks are probably fine with their season either way. But, with how jumbled this middle of the East has become, as I'm sure you've been watching all year, like every win's very important. Hawks outperforming their point differential. Hey, that's how you do it. You sneak out clutch wins by making 49-foot shots.
They have like a little bit of like a Team of Destiny feels strong because I don't think they're going to like go to the finals or something, but they've got like a magic something happening there right now. It's good vibes in Atlanta.
I agree that they deserve it, right? After their conference finals run, they've had a lot of like, oh gosh, kind of seasons. So it's been cool to see. Trey's been a lot better this year, I think, than in past seasons, and that's a big part of it. The Utah Jazz, Wes, look, you actually just saw them in person. They're not very good, but Will Hardy's a great coach, and they would have had a 3-game win streak had they won this. I actually am pretty interested in just what they do. They played Kessler, Markkanen, and Filipowski together at times in this game, and these big groups kind of worked. Colin Sexton's having a nice year. Like they just have lots of interesting stuff. They're just not very good yet. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. We'll see when this core becomes what its apex is, but I remain interested in the Jazz every time I watch them, even though they are not very good.
It feels like Isaiah Collier's job as a rookie starting is purposely to make sure that they lose games, right? He comes out here, he's like 1 for 6 for 3 points.
The Keontae George mantle from last year, yes.
He really is, man. It's like, all right, this is about as good as you can hope, though, for Utah. It's like you keep your fans on edge at home. It's exciting. You can walk away with kind of a buzz. Larry Markkanen scores 35 points. He's your star. But you also get a big game from Colin Sexton, big games from Walker Kessler, 2 guys who have been in trade rumors that if you want to part with, you can do that, and they have very high value. This is about as good as it gets for Utah.
What should have been the game of the night ruined by a sickness in Denver, Boston. I'm so bummed. Like, this should have been some big rivalry. Like, they should have met in the finals at least once by now, and it just feels like it's not really a thing. It's more of a thing in my head than anyone else's. But 2 awesome teams, normally no Jokic. And if I could drop my microphone and have 2 hands, slow clap for the Denver Nuggets, because with the crew they had available, no Aaron Gordon as well, they played really well. They were even in the fourth quarter, the middle of the fourth quarter of this game, and it took a monster fourth quarter from the Celtics to actually put them away. Celtics deserve credit for that. They haven't been playing awesome recently. I think they were 5-5 in their last 10 entering this game, but they got it done. That's kind of all that matters. But Denver, they can't do it without Jokic, even though they did play pretty well in this game. Is there any actual takeaway from this for either team when Jokic doesn't play, or you just give credit to the Nuggets guys who stepped up a little bit?
It's tough, right? Like Russell Westbrook had 26 points, 50% shooting, went 4 or 9 from 3-point range. But that seems more like, exception than rule for Russell Westbrook. But, he was good. And a bunch of guys made a bunch of shots. Peyton Watson was awesome in this game.
Him and Strother were.
And Strother could not miss. There's still some defensive concerns with him. But, yeah, I thought, you get some role players to step up. And that's what you want to see if you're Denver. It's like, okay, we did not roll over when our MVP was out. I think if you're Michael Malone, you can walk away from this with your held high. But I want to hear what John Corrales has to say, because Corrales usually will point to the 3-point shooting, and I've got a take on this.
Boston Celtics finish strong in Denver, get the win, finish the road trip 3-1. They broke it open with a 12-0 run in the fourth quarter, holding off a Denver Nuggets team. Like the first quarter, the Celtics were off and running. They got a 15-point lead, and it looked like it might just be a typical Denver stinks without Nikola Jokic. But credit Jamal Murray for showing some real flashes of being the old Jamal Murray. Russell Westbrook going 4 of 9 from 3, killed the Celtics. 3-point shooting, normally a Celtics advantage. Denver actually won the 3-point shooting battle. So the Celtics had to go inside. Kristaps Porzingis punished them inside in the first quarter to the tune of 15 points. And later on, whenever they needed a bucket, he was there to punish them as well. Jason Tatum was his usual self, 29 points there. Drew Holiday, an underrated kind of game. He had 19 points, 7 assists, 2 steals, a lot of big plays in the second half. Jaylen Brown woke up after a tough first half where he was scoreless to go 14, 8, and 8 for a nice finish to the game. Again, Celtics get this road trip 3-1, so they head back home feeling good about what they've accomplished.
So you had a slow clap. You had a slow. I have a slow clap for the Celtics. Congratulations. You won a game where you lost the 3-point shooting battle. You can do it, Boston. You can do it.
10 made twos for Jason Tatum, 8 for Kristaps Porzingis, 6 for Jaylen Brown. By God, they did it. And guess how they took over in that fourth quarter stretch that you talked about? 2-point shots. It is, in fact, possible to win that way. Although I don't think they're going to change what they're doing. I think they're just
shout out to that beer that got clobbered by Jaylen Brown's foot, by the way, and delayed the game.
He got all offended. Like, what is this thing doing on the court? I'm like, you kicked it there 2 seconds ago when you ran past the fan. Yeah, that was very funny. And then they were making like, oh, did he do that on purpose? Did Jason Kidd do it on purpose? Yes, Jason Kidd did it on purpose.
I think that's like a capital crime in Boston to spill a beer, especially another person's beer, right?
Another person's beer that had ice in it, by the way. I don't know if there were ice cubes on the floor.
There were ice cubes. Was that from the beer or was that from a separate drink that also got spilled? Because if there was ice in that beer, then that fan should get kicked out.
There's either an issue that 2 people spilled drinks or that there's ice in someone's beer. Either way,
who's in more trouble in Boston? Jaylen Brown for spilling another person's beer or a person putting ice in the beer in the first place?
You know who didn't have any ice was the Denver Nuggets in this game. So they were just trying to help. You know who has no ice right now? This is ironic. The Phoenix Suns, Wes. Yikes! They lost to who? The Hornets? We have to talk about that here in just a second. But not until we talk about game time. I love going to live events, sports, music, theater, comedy, all the above. Many have favorite memories of attending a concert or a sporting event. The energy and excitement, unforgettable. And now Game Time has made it even easier to get tickets to your favorite events with their new feature, Game Time Picks. This feature filters out the fluff to only show you incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. And, if you're looking for tickets to, let's say, a Suns game because you want to see what's going on there, use the Game Time app. They have Game Time Picks. You can find amazing deals. You can see the view from your seat in the arena before you're buying. Their super deals are always very impressive. They offer great seats at unbeatable prices. Plus, the app's all-in pricing allows you to see the total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKDOWNNBA. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Back here on Locked On NBA Game Night. Thanks for tuning in, making us your first listen today and every single day. Your second listen's got to be Locked On Suns because everything surrounding the Suns is about Jimmy Butler and about how bad they are at basketball right now. Pathetically bad at basketball. I don't even think that's being harsh. 2-8 in their last 10 games are the Phoenix Suns. For one fun night, it looked like their Band-Aid of a starting lineup change fixed things when they beat Philly and Bradley Beal was good off the bench. And then they went to Charlotte and lost to the Hornets. They lost to the Hornets by 11. Bradley Beal, 5 for 13 for only 10 points off the bench. Devin Booker was amazing. Kevin Durant had 26. And they lost to the Hornets. Wes, it's so weird to talk about the Suns because everybody wants to say when teams are playing bad, what should they do about this? What can they make? They can't do anything. I don't know what the Suns can do.
Other than benching Bradley Beal and Yusuf Nurkic, it
not
didn't
working.
Work. Like you said, Bradley Beal was good in that first game coming off the bench. Maybe a little inspired, maybe a little like I told you so, and then came out here and laid an egg. 5 of 13 for 10 points in this one. It was a minus 21 overall against Charlotte. This team is broken. Their defense stinks. They can't stop anything. All that stuff that Mike Budenholzer had installed at the beginning of the year, right? Where Trey Jones is going to run our offense. Tyus Jones is going to run our offense. We're not going to turn the ball over a ton. We're going to space the floor. We're going to take a bunch of threes. We're going to eliminate that mid-range shot as much as it was a part of the game last year for us under Frank Vogel. That stuff kind of worked for the first couple of weeks. And then they've kind of reverted back to bad habits. And they're back to taking a bunch of mid-range shots. They're back to turning the ball over a bunch, even though it's not Tyus Jones necessarily doing that. And they only had 11 turnovers in this game, which isn't a ton, but they usually have more than that. And their defense took a major step back. And there's just too many guys who are unplayable in this lineup. And the roster's broken. And I don't know what else they could do about it. It is why they remain the most motivated team to get a Jimmy Butler trade done. Does Jimmy Butler fix everything for them? No. But he gives them somebody who's efficient, who does not foul, who can get to the free throw line, who does not turn the ball over, and can give them some defensive backbone. I think he's an improvement over Bradley Beal. And I guess because you're the Suns and you're so pot committed, you kind of have to do something, because the only other thing that you could do is blow it up completely and trade literally everything. Trade Durant, trade Booker, and just recoup all your draft assets that you lost in all these deals, create some flexibility and go that other way. And obviously they're not going to do that.
To use some really adult, mature terms here, they need some like oomph and some pow. And Jimmy Butler gives them some oomph and pow, right?
Yeah.
Like they have none of that. And like similar to the Warriors, like they just need a little more at the rim. They need a little more at the foul line. 10 of their 19 free throws. Actually, sorry, let me just use this to be more clear. All 19 of their free throws are from Durant or Booker, right? Like someone else do something. It's just very frustrating watching them. They either have to decide if they're switching or not based on who their center is. It's just weird. And they got punked in this game. 20 offensive rebounds for the Hornets. That really helps them. I mean, they didn't.
There's no muscle on that team at all. Like, and they don't seem inspired to even play hard. Like, this was a team again that felt inspired at the beginning of the year, over whatever it was, a coaching change and some roster changes. Even like Ryan Dunn as a rookie was shooting well from 3-point range to start the year, and everybody from Phoenix was like, "See, he could shoot. I knew he could shoot." And now he can't shoot again. So he goes over 4 from 3-point range in this game. So there's a lack of muscle. There's a lack of 1-2, and I don't know how you fix that.
Suns on the knife's edge, but barely. They might be already off of it and way on the wrong side of the knife's edge. Timberwolves approaching that knife's edge. I'm going to talk about what I think about the Timberwolves. They beat the Pelicans tonight. No feat beating the Pelicans, but beating the Pelicans when Zion has pretty dang good game in a return is very impressive. I have a take about Minnesota, but we're going to let Jake Madison tell you about Zion Williamson. He's back.
Welcome back, Zion Williamson. I'm Jake Madison, host of Locked On Pelicans. Pels lose 104-97 to the Minnesota Timberwolves, but the result doesn't matter. Zion Williamson returned after being sidelined for over 2 months with a hamstring injury, and he looked good. 22 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, and a block, all in under 20 minutes. And I don't know if Tony has mentioned it yet, but he played about 30 seconds with only 1 shoe and forced a turnover.
Yes.
It's games like this that make him such a tantalizing and polarizing player, and one the Pelicans probably still have to keep trying to build around. But as good as he played, don't forget that 2 months out injured part. This was just 1 game, and he needs to show it for the rest of the regular season if the Pelicans want to feel comfortable building around him going forward.
Great points. I mean, their season's over, right? Their record is too bad. They've been too hurt. But it's nice to see this. It's nice to see how good he is.
I'm happy that Jake's happy, but it is the most depressing thing ever when you hear Zion Williamson's back and the result of this game didn't matter. It is such a reflection of where this Pelicans season is.
They have the second worst record in the league. Who saw this coming? Everybody gets why. It just sucks. He looked really good in the game. And yes, he mentioned it. I tweeted about it, so I'm glad he got it in there. Zion had a play where his shoe fell off. And instead of doing what every NBA player does and kind of like finding a delayed moment to put it on, he just threw it into the crowd for a little bit. Battled on the offensive glass twice, went back on defense, got switched on to Rudy Gobert, and forced the 3 seconds in the key. It was sick.
Listen, Zion is a shoe malfunction veteran. He knows how to handle these situations.
I have a Timberwolves take. We're running low on time, so I'll just go quick here. They won. Ant was great. He had 32 again. If they just get, like, Ant doesn't want this double team stuff. I get it. If they just get him to throw 8 simple passes a game to the guy standing right next to him, they're going to click at some point this season. Like, that's all it's going to take, because then they have other guys who can do stuff with the ball. They're not good at it, but they're good enough, right? And they figured out the starting lineup thing, I think. DiVincenzo starting over Conley makes sense. If they just get Ant throwing simple passes, everyone will be like, oh, look, they look really good again. That's all it's going to take. I think it's there. I think it's possible for him.
That has been sort of the wax and wane aspect of his game over the last couple of years.
The non-Knives Edge teams played tonight. The only game with very everybody knows who they are kind of teams. Went exactly how to expect. The Rockets, very mature this year. They defend very well. Went into the Washington and destroyed the Wizards. That's what they should do. Locked on Wizards with more.
It was a Green and Shangoon show as the Washington Wizards get handled by the Houston Rockets 135-112 in the nation's cap. And like I said, it was a Green and Shangoon show for the Houston Rockets. Jalen Green dropped 29 points and 8 rebounds, and Shangoon dropped 26 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists. And then look at that. The DMV's finest, Cam Whitmore, 17 points on 6 for 8 for the field and 3 for 3 from 3. Now, the Wizards did have their bright spots. With Kyle Kuzma going down with injury, before he went down, he did score 10 points, but only played 16 minutes. But it was the second unit. Corey Kispert, 23 points. Jared Butler, 14, and Jonas Valanciunas, 18 points and 4 rebounds. So the second unit did shine in the absence of Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma for the Washington Wizards. They'll look to get back on track tomorrow in Philly against the Sixers. Hail to the Wizards and peace.
Every Wizards game is a fun showcase of lots of players who should probably get traded sometime in the next month. Valanciunas looks good every time he plays. Shout out to Kyle Kuzma for scoring a bunch, but getting hurt, maybe not good for his trade value. I have no other takes on Wizards Rockets. Good job, Rockets.
Amen Thompson filling in for Jabari Smith Jr. at power forward
Permanent.
has been awesome. 20 points, 15 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals. If you thought he was just an energy guy off the bench, think again. This guy's awesome. He's been more productive as a starter. It's crazy. It's actually.
You think
working.
the Pistons are like, oh, that's Asar's twin? Maybe we should do that, or if they just do their own thing.
It's a great call. They should experiment.
Good for the Rockets. Best surprise in the league this year that they're continuing to be this good. Jackson Gallen have more on Locked On Rockets. That's it for today's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tomorrow, lots of fun action. I can't wait for Cavs OKC, and I hope you can either. It's going to be awesome. We'll see you then.